Good morning, students. Welcome to today's lesson on scientific inquiry skills. Scientific inquiry skills. Now, this is session 4 of Unit 3, and under session 4, we are going to learn observation and manipulation skills. The skill of observation and manipulation. So, these are our objectives for this session. So I'm saying after you have worked through this session, you'll be able to use the senses to make accurate observation, and then you'll be able to manipulate teaching instructional materials to exhibit manipulative skills, and also you should be able to classify some given specimens, and then draw clearly and label specimen. You should be able to draw clearly and label specimen. So we begin with observation skills, the skill of observation. So I say observation is the process of watching something carefully in order to find out something. So you observe the specimen carefully. Observe it carefully in order to fetch what you want to find on the specimen. So the students are required to use their senses to make accurate observation. You have to use your senses to make accurate observation. And the students should be able to tell the color, the form, the texture or structure of specimens provided and be able to classify them. You should be able to do these things. You should tell the color, the texture, and then the structure of the specimen. That's why we are saying that observation skills is very important in biology lab. It's very important. So the skill of observation is very important. Manipulative skills. Now with manipulative skills, we are saying it involves the skill of handling scientific objects and tools for accomplishing the specific task. How do you handle the object? How do you manipulate the tool? Okay. So it involves setting up laboratory apparatus. You prepare specimen and other materials for observation. All these are manipulation. All these things I'm talking about are manipulation. And also practical exercises in biology give students the chance to directly use materials, manipulate objects or physical materials, observe or explore the characteristics of objects and materials, and then engage in-depth investigation and draw meanings from experiences. So all these fall under the manipulative skills or the skill of manipulation. Classification. Now, classification, we are talking about grouping of specimens and objects according to their common properties or characteristics. So the science of biology classification is known as taxonomy. So organisms which have certain features in common are grouped together into kingdoms. Okay, I have kingdom Animalia, kingdom Plantae, kingdom Prokaryote. So we have the 5 kingdoms. So you have to be able to group organisms into these kingdoms. So this is the first step to help the student to classify organisms. The students to classify organisms. So the teacher, you tell the students to group the organisms provided, you group them according to their common features. For example, all multicellular organisms which possesses chlorophyll and feed by photosynthesis should be placed in the plant kingdom. And the kingdom is the largest unit of classification. So the students, you the teacher, you tell the students to split into smaller units called phyla. Okay, so kingdom, phylum. Okay, so from kingdom we come to phylum. Okay, so the phyla will be splitted into classes. Okay, so from kingdom, phylum, classes, and then the classes will be splitted into orders. Okay, and then the orders will be splitted into families, and then the families into genera. Okay, families into genera. So it's a process. So kingdom, phylum, class, others, families, genera, and then species. So when you have the kingdom plantae, you can split them into these levels. So the student, you will be taught that the various units of classification, such as kingdom, phylum, class, and so on, are called taxonomic categories. And together with these make the taxonomic hierarchy. So you should teach your students how classification is done, like the example I just gave. Okay, you have to teach your students how classification is done. Drawing and measuring. In drawing, we expect that you draw clearly and you label specimens or objects very well. Some of you, I don't know whether you've come across these things, where a student will draw and some of the the labeling will be showing north, some will be showing south, some will be showing east. It is not a nice way of labeling. So when you are labeling, if all is showing one direction, all is showing one direction, you don't label and some will be showing north, south, east, west. That is not a proper labeling. And the students are taught how to use hand lens to magnify the organism by drawing and labeling than they could be a mere talk and chalk description. So, like I said, skill of handling. So students are taught how to handle equipment. So they will use the hand lens to observe or magnify the specimen, and then they will draw. So measuring, when you say measuring, it refers to the accurate use of measuring instruments and equipment for measuring, reading, and making observation. So you should be able to use a particular instrument to measure, to read, and then you make observation from the measuring. Okay, so you have to be able to do that, and then you teach your students that. So you should be able to measure using a particular equipment. And simply put, you should be able to measure using a particular equipment. Okay, so this brings us to the end of the session. Bring us to the end of session 4 of Unit 3, and then we are saying that we are going to review this session. And in reviewing the session, I expect you should be able to answer these questions. So question 1, why do biology students observe when they are experimenting? Why do they observe? Question 2, outline how classification of organisms are done in biology. How is classification done? So my dear students, you can discuss these questions online. You can discuss them through Zoom or Google Meet, and then you find solutions to these questions.